Cingari here with TUF 21 welterweight Michael Graves. In case you have not been following this season's TUF, and God knows you better catch up on this show soon, because in my humble opinion, it's been one of the best seasons ever. This year, it's team versus team, ATT versus the Black Zians. Both of the teams are based in South Florida and are home to some of the best MMA athletes in the world. Before we talk about this show and Michael Graves being on this season's TUF 21, let me give you some background on this talented fighter. Mike is 6 feet tall and has a 72-inch reach. He hails from Ohio and has a pro record of 4 wins, no losses, and an amateur record of 9 wins and no losses. Graves was just a 14-year-old wrestler when he saw his first Ultimate Fighter show with Forrest, Griffin, and Stephan Bonnar. And now, 10 years later, he's on TUF 21. It is my honor and pleasure to welcome Michael Graves to the Must Love MMA show. How are you tonight, Michael?
I'm good, Susan. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So, Michael, it's been quite a whirlwind season this year for you. Let's start with that big upset last week we saw in TUF 21. That was just a crazy fight between you and Jason Jackson. Congratulations on the victory, which, by the way, MMA fans, was by a rear naked choke, in case you missed it, at 3 minutes and 1 second into round one. Can you break that fight down for us, Michael?
Yeah, we came out in the first minute, feeling each other out, measuring the distance. About a minute into the fight, I got kicked in the groin. He followed up on me with mainly knees to the body and shots to the back of the head. He got some shots underneath my armpit. A couple connected, which are pretty good. And I basically just got into a scramble, not really sure how it happened. I ended up putting him against the fence in a double leg position, taking him down, taking his back, and getting the rear naked choke.
You took such a beating in the beginning of that fight with that illegal low blow and some shots to the head. How were you able to survive that? It looked really painful to watch.
Yeah, and it was. And, it's part of the game. You got to be able to give big shots, obviously, but in my opinion, you also got to be able to take them. You know, you're going to eventually get hit in the mouth once or twice. You're going to get dropped on your ass, and it's just about getting up and how big of a shot you can take and keep moving forward.
What was going through your mind, though, when you were on the ground and taking so many hits?
Obviously nothing good. I didn't want a fight like that to be televised for everybody. I know I'm capable of a lot more. I know if I fight that guy 100 times, I think I beat him all 100 times, and I think that fight proved it. I just, was trying to keep myself moving, keep myself covered up so the ref didn't stop the fight. That was about it.
Yeah, well, it works because you did get the W. I was looking at some footage from last week's show, and Dan Lambert comments that he feels that you were in such a better place for this fight that you had with Jackson. So much of the game is mental, as we know in MMA. How were you able to mentally prepare for this fight against Jackson then?
There's a lot that goes into it that people don't get to see.
Right.
And I'm not one for making excuses, but just I had a lot of things going on in my life before the show. I got engaged, my fiance was pregnant, and I wasn't making any money before the show. Like, I had 4 professional fights, and I wasn't even come close to making a living for myself, and I was basically at a standstill in my career, and I was at the point where I was getting ready to get just a regular job and start doing the normal thing, which, killed me inside, and I didn't want to do it. I just felt like I had to do it for my family. And then literally, not even a week as I made that decision up in my head, they told me about the Ultimate Fighter, and I don't think that I was able to mentally make that switch back before that first fight. And I don't even really think that I was able to make that switch before the second fight, but I was able to, get enough fire from that loss where I was able to train pretty good and, have enough for the win, obviously.
Wow. Well, a lot of times the mental game is such an important part of the game itself. A lot of the fighters have talked about that, and it's hard just tuning into the show to really see what else is going on behind the scenes. How did it feel for you to bring the win home for ATT?
It felt awesome, and I don't want to sound cheesy or anything like that, but that win was not even for me at all. It was for Dan, Lebo, Conan, all the guys at ATT. I did that for them. I just wanted to prove to them that I was, capable of going in there and getting the job done. And, I felt like on a good day I could beat any of their guys. I know I can. I was just ready to prove it and to bring one back for the team. Like I said, that win wasn't for me. It was for ATT.
Yeah, and kudos to Dan, because I know in following the show you had a rough start in the beginning, but he's the kind of coach, and American Top Team is the kind of team that stands by their fighters, and I think that was shown in this show. Let's talk about the potential TUF 21 finale this week. And let's just say you got to fight Usman again. What would you do differently this time? And were you surprised that you could not finish him in round 2? It looked like you really had it locked up at that point.
I was in the best place mentally, but, Usman did a great job at defending at the same time. He's actually, I think the only fight he lost was in that same position in one of the later rounds, and he obviously worked on that. And I hadn't been training the way I should, the way I know I can, and it was a cardio issue with me. I was gassing out towards the end of the fight. I think he was in a little better shape physically, and I think that's what got him the win and was able to get him to knock me off of him. And if I fought him again, I wouldn't take anything away from him. He's a great fighter. He's a great wrestler and everything. But I would just let him know that I'm a totally different fighter and that I've been training my ass off a lot, and he's going to see a totally different Michael Graves if he fights me again.
If I had to bet, though, and I'm not a betting woman, except maybe on football, and my New York Giants don't seem to be making it at all in the football field, so I've quit betting. My guess is you could be fighting Jackson again, especially after last week's exchange on Fox Sports, and we have some video of that.
If you want again, I'll beat your ass again. Easy. Simple. You ain't saying nothing.
You didn't beat me.
You
beat
lost.
You up. Do you
That's
not
all
understand? You lost.
I'll beat you up, and I'll do it again.
I'll
beat you up again.
Okay. Dude, you landed some good shots.
You landed some. I'll beat you up again.
I would be more than happy to fight you.
That's all you got to say. I'll beat you up again.
If I was on Jason for the time that he was on me, there'd be no discussion. His ass would be asleep. All right? That's all I need to say about that. There'd be no fight. There'd be no choke. There'd be no nothing. Your ass would be sleeping.
If you were to fight him this week, what can we expect to see when you enter the octagon?
No feeling out process whatsoever. I got about as much feeling out process as I need to with that guy, and I have no bones to pick about anything. If I fight him, I'll call right to his face. I'm taking his ass right down, and I'm beating him into submission. I'm not going for nothing. When I mean I'm beating him into submission, I mean I'm either putting him to sleep or the ref's going to have to get me off of him. I know my wrestling's way better. I'm a lot stronger. I'm in better shape, and, he may be able to evade 1 or 2 takedowns, but he ain't going a whole round without me taking him down. So I'm gonna get right in his grill from the opening second of the fight. I'm gonna put him on his back and I'm gonna beat him up.
Wow, that's a fight that I'm sure the fans will be looking forward to seeing. We'll probably be able to find out this week on the final season of The Ultimate Fighter, which airs tomorrow evening. Do you feel like the show portrayed you as the villain at all? Oftentimes, I've worked in reality shows for other networks, and sometimes we don't really get to see the whole thing. You mentioned that you had some personal issues going on, but do you feel like they portrayed you as the villain in the show?
Yeah, I mean, maybe to some respects, you know what I mean? Obviously the drinking thing and losing the fight and maybe some of the things I said. And, if they want to portray me as a villain, that's fine. I have no problem being the bad guy. So I actually, I don't mind that role at all.
What's a typical training day like for you then?
I try to do something cardio or strength and fitness every day, so whether it's running or swimming or lifting weights. And then I try to obviously do something wrestling or Muay Thai, running or swimming, and then I'll either do wrestling or boxing or Muay Thai. I try not to do too much. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm a guy that can put things together pretty easy. I just got to make sure that I'm staying focused and getting in the gym every day.
The rivalry is very real, folks, between AT&T and the Black Zillions. So how happy were you, Michael Graves, that Dan Lambert won, an American Top Team won the Coaches Challenge?
I was really happy. It was very funny to see Glenn run, too, because, that's something, like Dan said, it's not really a big accomplishment beating Glenn in something physical. It was funny,
Let's talk about the cool house. What was it like to live in that house for this show? Because it was a pretty amazing pad for the time you were taping there, was it not?
Yeah, but it was a very big house. They kind of locked it off though, so it was a big house and it had a bunch of rooms and everything like that. But we were not able to really we were kind of confined to the backyard where the pool was and the kitchen and the living room area and our rooms. So we weren't really allowed to really go anywhere. The production staff had a majority of the house set up for different interview stations and things like that. So it seems really big. I mean, it is really big, but like I said, we weren't able to go wandering through the house and everything like that. So honestly, we were pretty confined, as surprising as that may sound.
No, I understand that because I've worked behind the scenes on many a reality show, and it appears oftentimes different than what we see as the viewer. What do you think was the deciding factor in American Top Team being able to turn the season around? Because you got off to quite a rocky start. Was there any particular thing that we didn't see on air, maybe a speech by one of the coaches or something that moment that you feel that ATT was able to break through then?
I don't know if there was any specific moment or anything like that. If you go back on the footage after all the fights that we lost and even the fights that we won, we were very stringent, all of us, on keeping a very positive mindset and just reiterating the fact that we are going to win this tournament. We're going to pull it out, whether it's in the last 5 fights, the last 4 fights, the last 3 fights, whatever it is. We were confident through and through that we're going to win the tournament, that we're going to pull it out in the end, and that never changed. And it still hasn't changed. The tournament's not over. The tournament will be over come Sunday, and we all are still holding that same mindset as we did the first day we entered the house.
I've been following your career for a while, and in fact, we have some video of you when you fought Rico Farrington, April 2014 at MTC Fights in South Florida. It's almost ironic because if we go back and think about that fight, much like the Jackson fight, you had a major injury before that fight as well, but you were able to pull through it. Can you share with our viewers what that injury was, and can you break that fight down for us as well?
I took a knee to the face, and I got cut. A really bad cut, which is right over my right eye, literally 2 weeks out before my fight, exactly 14 days. And I think I had to get 10 stitches right along my forehead. I got the stitches out at weigh-ins. An hour before I went to weigh-ins, I got the stitches out of my face. And I remember George is the commissioner. I remember George kind of looked at me, and the ref kind of came over and talked to me, and he was like, if you get hit at all, that's going to open up, right? And that's a pretty bad cut, and there's still a scar on my face to this day. And he was like, if you get hit at all, that cut's going to open up, and it's going to be bad because it's obviously a big cut. And I was just kind of like, yeah, whatever, I guess. And I was at a point where all fighters making their come up can relate to this. I was at a point where I was having a hard time finding fights. I just couldn't say no, really. I had Conan in my corner for that fight. He was keeping me in a positive mindset. Luckily I was able to go out there and do my thing.
Before we go today, Michael, anything else you would like to add? And can you tell our viewers how we can follow you on social media?
Twitter and Instagram, Graves MMA. You can follow me on there. That's the only things I have to plug as of now.
All right, Michael Graves, TUF 21 competitor. I wish you good luck with American Top Team this week. Something tells me, as I said, I'm not a betting woman, but something tells me we will be seeing you Sunday. And if so, the viewers would love to tune into that fight. And thank you so much for your interview.
Thank you, Susan.